What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and today we're talking about thrash metal band NERVOSA and their new album Perpetual Chaos via Napalm Records. And hey, if you like to be kept up to date with the best and brightest metal bands and albums from the underground and above, then stick with me by hitting that subscribe button down below. NERVOSA is an all-female thrash metal act that has been around since 2010, but ultimately breaking through with 2018's Downfall of Mankind. Over that time, the band has seen some changes, now consisting of the multinational lineup of founding Brazilian guitarist Prika Amaral, Wallace from Italy on bass, Greece's Eleni Nota on drums, and Bloodhunter's Diva Satanica from Spain taking up vocal duties. This was actually my first foray into NERVOSA, with Diva's name being the one that initially piqued my interest. I absolutely loved her work on the Bloodhunter album, The End of Faith, and since then I will follow her vocals wherever they take me. From the singles, it seemed clear that her vocals over these raw, thrashy riffs might be a match made in heaven or hell, I suppose, to be cliche. But it's especially clear on album opener and my personal favorite track, Venomous. Diva is sounding more vicious than ever on this one, with both her usual very Angela Gossow-esque high snarls and also some deep death growls for good measure. And that's not to mention the absolutely filthy hooks that have more than a little Sepultura flowing through the guitar tone. Until the very end was another early standout, once more with its ferocious full speed ahead tremolos and rumbling bass. It's at this high energy where NERVOSA truly shines the most, culminating in an especially explosive series of classic era soloing beginning around the halfway mark. Also in this same vein is Under Ruins, which makes for a great album closer, alternating ominous, doomy sounding melodies with more chugging palm mutes and shredding from Prika. Again, it's hard to shake these Sepultura comparisons. I'm not sure if that's just a sound that comes from Brazil's genetics or if Prika grew up on the stuff. Probably a combination of the two. But there are also some guest appearances on this album that shake things up stylistically. First we get Schmier of Destruction on the track Genocidal Command, offering his more traditional take on thrash vocals from the German scene. I particularly enjoy the interplay between him and Diva later on in this track. And then there's Rebel Soul, which aside from having a killer opening riff with kind of a Motorhead vibe, also sports some classic heavy metal style vocals from none other than Erik A.K. Knutson of Flotsam and Jetsam. I'm not a slave of fate. I truly own my freedom. I cannot fool myself. Now, all of that considered, I will say that Perpetual Chaos is not a very consistent album, at least for my tastes anyways. There are definitely high points, but I feel like overall the songwriting is kind of middle of the road. I listen to certain songs like Kings of Domination, and the riffs feel a little bit uninspired and lacking in that same primal energy. Unfortunately, that ends up being enough of a trend that it kind of pulls down my enjoyment of the album as a whole. Speaking of which, turning to my 3 scales, I give Perpetual Chaos a 7 for enjoyability. Again, some really great moments that hooked me in, but as a complete experience it leaves me wanting and even hitting skip in a few places. I give it an 8 for musicianship. It's clear to me that all members of this band are above average performers with lots of potential. It's just that the songwriting and compositional elements sometimes leave that fact kind of lost in translation. And I give it a 7 for innovation. This is a pretty typical thrash metal record without much going on for it to move the genre forward in any big way. But then again, I feel like that goes for most of the thrash metal out there these days. So a 7.3 overall and a C for NERVOSA and Perpetual Chaos. Again, I really think that this band has massive potential, and I hope that with some advances in their songwriting, they can really hit the heights that they seem capable of in the future. Either way, you can get the album once more via Napalm Records. Y'all, thanks as always for watching, and let me know what you thought of this album in the comments. Hit that like button, and be sure to check out my interview with Diva on the podcast. And hey, stick around in general because I have plenty more reviews, tier lists, interviews, and other content to check out on the channel, so plenty of reasons to subscribe again if you haven't already. Also chat with us on Discord and support on Patreon. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.